Have you ever found yourself suddenly tearing up while watching a 30-second commercial about a family reunion? Or perhaps while listening to a lonesome instrumental track on the bus as the sun sets behind the city skyline? In that moment, you probably wiped your eyes quickly, glanced around to see if anyone noticed, and whispered to yourself, "Why am I so weak?" We live in a world that teaches us that tears are a sign of failure, of emotional instability, or a lack of grip on reality. We are told to toughen up and keep it together. But have you ever stopped to wonder, really wonder, why our bodies evolved the ability to cry in the first place? Why is it that after a heavy sob in the darkness of your room, your chest feels lighter, as if a literal physical weight has been lifted from your heart?
There is a truth that most people will never tell you. People who cry easily aren't weak. In fact, they possess a complex psychological structure and an internal resilience that others often struggle to find. As the saying goes, what you don't know will change everything. Today, we are going to decode the inner world of the easy criers, those who carry a heavy heart but are often the most misunderstood.
Now, before we dive deeper, I want to clarify one thing. This video is not about clinical depression or severe psychological disorders that require medical intervention. What we are discussing is emotional sensitivity, a natural, healthy psychological trait. This isn't about being whiny or fragile. It's about how we process the world through the lens of our most authentic emotions. It's about understanding the mechanics of a heart that feels too much.
Why do we cry? According to Dr. Ad Vingerhotz from Tilburg University, the world's leading expert on emotional tears, humans are the only species on this planet that cries for emotional reasons. Every other animal cries only to lubricate their eyes or remove irritants. Science categorizes tears into three types: basal tears to keep the eyes moist, reflex tears when you're chopping onions, and most importantly, emotional tears. When you cry because you're moved, the chemical composition of your tears is fundamentally different. Emotional tears contain high concentrations of protein-based hormones, including ACTH, which is linked to stress, and enkephalin, a natural painkiller produced by the body.
Now, here's what I find fascinating. You can think of every fallen tear as a toxic waste disposal system for your mind. When you suppress your tears, you are essentially holding those stress hormones inside your bloodstream, keeping your body in a state of red alert. By crying, you are literally flushing stress out of your system. But the real key lies in the vagus nerve. When you start sobbing and eventually transition into those long, shaky sighs, your vagus nerve is activated. This nerve acts as the body's braking system. It sends a signal to your heart. Hey, slow down, we are safe now. This is why after a good cry, your heart rate drops, your muscles relax, and you often feel a strange sense of sleepiness. That isn't just exhaustion, it's recovery.
In psychology, we call this intrapersonal intelligence. People who cry easily are deeply in tune with their internal landscape. They don't just feel the pain, they have an advanced biological mechanism to process it. Does it still feel like a weakness when you realize your body is actually performing a high-level detox for your soul? So why are some people criers while others seem like they're made of stone? The answer often lies in our early years. Think back to your childhood bedroom, or how your parents reacted when you fell and scraped your knee at 5 years old. If you grew up in an environment where tears were accepted as a message that needed to be heard, you likely developed a healthy emotional release valve. However, many of us grew up hearing things like, "Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about," or "Boys don't cry," or "You're being too sensitive." To survive, we learned to build a dam to block the flow of our emotions. But here's the problem. The dam doesn't make the pain disappear. It only causes the pain to accumulate under immense pressure. People who cry easily often have a very flexible dam. They don't view emotion as an enemy to be imprisoned. They see it as a guest that has arrived and eventually needs an exit. Beyond upbringing, there is also a biological component. Some people are born with more active mirror neurons. These are the cells in our brain responsible for empathy. When you see a stranger crying in a movie, your brain doesn't just understand they are sad, it actually simulates that sadness in your own nervous system.
Those who cry easily are often the world bearers. They feel the collective weight of the world's joy and sorrow as if it were their own. It's not that they are unstable, it's that their empathy antenna is tuned to a much higher frequency than everyone else's. Have you ever felt that overwhelming wave of emotion for someone you didn't even know?
Now, let's change the narrative. What if we stopped calling easy crying being soft and started calling it high-level emotional regulation? Imagine emotions are like a storm. People who never cry are like stiff, unyielding trees. They stand tall and rigid, trying to resist the wind. But when the storm becomes too great, they are the ones who snap and break. This is often when total mental burnout or numbness occurs. On the other hand, people who cry are like bamboo or tall grass. They bend with the wind. They let the rain wash over them. They look fragile in the moment, but after the storm passes, they are the ones to stand back up, unbroken.
Crying is not surrendering. Crying is the courage to face the truth. I am hurting, and I accept that. It takes an incredible amount of internal strength to sit in front of someone, or even just yourself in the mirror, and let your tears fall without shame. It is the ultimate form of self-honesty. When you cry, you are clearing out the emotional clutter in your mind to make room for creativity, forgiveness, and new solutions. And this is where it gets interesting. Because they process pain so frequently, criers often have a higher threshold for emotional endurance in the long run. They aren't afraid of the dark emotions because they know how to navigate them, and more importantly, how to leave them behind.
If you are someone who cries easily, I'm not here to tell you to stop. Instead, I want to show you how to manage this flow so it becomes your greatest strength. Here are 3 simple, grounded steps. Step 1, create a sanctuary. You don't have to cry everywhere in front of everyone. Give yourself permission zones. Maybe it's a corner of your room with a warm lamp, a specific playlist, or simply under the warmth of the shower. Allow yourself to shatter in these safe spaces without judgment. When you give your emotions a scheduled time and place, they are less likely to leak out during a business meeting or a stressful grocery trip.
Step 2, practice emotional labeling. While the tears are falling, try to ask yourself, what am I actually crying about? Often, it's not about the dropped coffee mug or the minor criticism from a boss. It's about the accumulated exhaustion of a long month. By naming the emotion, e.e., I feel lonely, I feel overwhelmed, or I feel unseen, you shift your brain from the emotional limbic system to the logical prefrontal cortex. This helps the crime serve its purpose and come to a natural end. Step 3, the aftercare action. After your tears dry, perform one tiny act of self-care. Drink a glass of warm water to replace the fluids you lost. Write one single sentence in a journal. Or simply tidy up your desk. Put that one stray pen back in its place. Treat your tears as the lubricant that allows you to start your engine again. When you follow a cry with a small, productive action, you signal to your brain that you are moving from processing to progressing.
Tears are the language of the things we cannot say in words. Never feel guilty for having a soul that is more sensitive to the vibrations of life. There is a beautiful saying, the eyes that have cried the most are the eyes that see the world most clearly. By allowing yourself to feel, you are allowing yourself to truly live. The 7-day challenge. For the next week, whenever you feel an emotional wave rising, instead of distracting yourself with your phone or powering through, stop for 60 seconds. Feel the tightness in your throat or your chest. If the tears want to come, let them. Then observe how your mood shifts afterward.
Now, I have a question for you. When was the last time you had a good cry, and what triggered it? Share your story in the comments below. Your honesty might be the exact comfort someone else needs to read today. Don't forget to follow for more daily discoveries into the human mind. I'll see you in the next video.